Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. My name is Gorman John Ruggiero, and I'm the author of 30 plays for child actors. This is a culmination of almost 40 years of work. These are 30 of many other plays that I have selected out of my group of plays I've written over the last 40 years for child actors. I want to show you a short video, a 6-minute video that will give you a better idea of who I am and what I do with children and how my book can be enjoyed with family members and children. Adults and children can read these plays and enjoy them. So what I'd like to do first is give you this video of a trip I made to China. I've been to China about 8 years. 4 to 6 months a year developing theater programs and communication skills programs for children. So please enjoy this video, and I will see you on the other side.
I can do anything. I can do anything today. I can do anything. I can do anything today. I can go anywhere. I can go anywhere today. I can go anywhere. I can go anywhere today. I can be anyone. I can be anyone today. I can be anyone. I can be anyone today. It's great to be with you. It's great to be with you today. It's great to be with you.
My name is Gorman John Ruggiero. I'm a theater director, actor, producer, and playwright. I have worked with children for over 35 years developing theater productions for children, with children as the actors. When I came to the school, the English Experimental School, we talked about doing a version of Snow White. And through our discussions, I was really impressed with the teachers and the administration. They were talking about doing something with Chinese culture. So I asked them, well, maybe I can adapt the play with Chinese cultural elements, which we did. 50 children, which is unusual. There's not very many plays out there with 50 characters, but we have Snow White, we have the 8 pandas, we have bumblebees and plum blossoms and all kinds of other characters. And each child has speaking parts, movement, dance, and they sing. The purpose of this camp is to introduce children into the wondrous world of theater.
to teach them acting, to teach them to use their imagination, but most importantly, to communicate. Teach them how to communicate using physical, emotional, and intellectual content. I've been preparing for this camp for about 3 weeks. When I found out we had 50 students, I knew I had to write a play because there's very few plays out there with 50 characters, and you'll never find any for children with speaking parts. So I wrote this adaptation of Snow White with the intent of making sure every child had speaking roles. I wrote the play. I hired some fantastic artists. Rena is our dance director, choreographer. Hem is our musical director. He's also a virtuoso pianist. And we put our heads together and came up with a variety of different ideas to work with the songs and the dances. And I let them design their own work because they're the experts. So we kind of put our heads together and we came up with some really nice, interesting pieces that the children can perform. Each and every single child has improved in levels of confidence, articulation of English, and especially understanding emotional content and how to express it. Yes, everyone.
Hello, my name is Rena. I'm a dance director and a choreographer for the camp. I can see a lot of changes. They really, first day they were very shy, and day by day they really start to show them personality, confidence with us. It's really cute that kids can change in so fast time.
I'm William Brico from Manila, Philippines. I'm happy to join this company to make this winter camp, so I can teach them the nursery rhyme as well, alphabets, colors and shapes, and etc. for the kids. Ever since the camp started, I saw a lot of them there doing well.
First of all, children, listen to me. Come to me. That's what I would like to say. I would also like to say Anjing and Ting Ma. But most importantly, I would like to say you did all your work. You made an agreement with me that you would work hard and have a great show, and you kept your agreement. And I want to thank you for keeping that agreement. Now, today, during this performance, just go and have fun. You did all the work. Remember your positions and go have fun.
Be themselves, relax, don't be shy, and don't think that they can do it, because I don't believe that I can do it. It's just I don't want to do it. So they must be relaxed, and everything will be okay.
Before you go out, just keep practicing, whatever they want.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. I'd like to talk about it for a few minutes, and I would be very happy to entertain any questions, comments, observations, critique. So what I want to say first is, in the 45 years that I've been working with children, there's one thing that I think is the most important facet of this process that I've developed over the years, and that is children in the theater and the performing arts, whether it's dance, acting, singing, music, communication skills is the most important thing you can teach them. So when I started working with children in the early 1980s, I went to an elementary school in Saratoga Springs, New York, just because I wanted to make a few extra dollars. I had my acting company from New York in the city of Saratoga Springs for the summer, and I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay there that winter. So I thought I'd teach some children some acting just as a way to make some money on the side. And I went to the Lake Avenue Elementary School, and Rita Finnegan, the principal, who was very pro artist at the time, and the theme in the schools at that era was interfacing with the arts. That was one of their you heard that commonly. Let's interface with the professional artists. So I went and I developed a program. After about a month of working with the children, Rita called me into her office and said, "I'd like to talk with you." And I thought, oh my goodness, what am I doing wrong? Because I had never really worked with children in this in-depth way. I had worked with children in New York City before and in other areas, but not with such in-depth craft. And she said, the teachers are wondering what you're doing, and they'd like to observe your work because they're finding out the children are paying more attention in class. They are listening to each other before they jump into a conversation. They are presenting dialogue with each other that they weren't noticing before. And I said, well, that's exactly what I'm teaching. I'm teaching them how to listen, how to talk, how to critique each other, how to observe each other's work, how to make recognition of emotional content, physical content, and intellectual content, and how to separate those three areas of communication into different places, into different facets. And so they came and studied my work, and I realized I needed to learn more about psychology. So I started working on a master's in psychology because I was really excited about working with these children. One of the interesting things that happened in 1982, and this is very relevant to what I'm going to talk about today, is I was walking through the park and I saw a group of children huddled around another boy. For some reason, they were just huddled there, and it was really it looked very strange to me. So I thought they had found a dead squirrel or something. I didn't know what. And the boy had a game, what they called a Game Boy. I don't know what they called it at the time, but it was a little electronic box. And I thought, my God, that's interesting. And they were mesmerized. They were enthralled with it. And I thought for a moment, oh my goodness, this is going to be our future. Because they were entranced by this little digital world they were in. So I wrote a play called Stefan the Pip and the Stolen Star thereafter, which started out as a 20-minute story about what I would consider the dangers of the cyber world for children if it's not used properly. And that turned into an hour and 45-minute musical over the years, because it's been produced over 5, 10, 15 times. So, and that really addresses what are the most important aspects of the modern world for children, and that's their, I want to use the word addiction, and in some cases that is the case, but obsession with social media, the cyber world, and the amount of time they spend in front of what I call the screens of the world. So I have a comment from Real Rattles. Can you walk us through how you handle children with autism? Certainly. When I first started working with the children, the teachers came and said, would you mind taking on a couple of our problem children? They called them problem children. Now they call them challenged children, and I just call them children because every child has their own issues no matter what. And so they brought me these children. We did not know they were on the autism spectrum because they weren't being diagnosed in 1981 or 82 up here in the Adirondack Mountains. And worked with those children. And what I did first was nothing. I invited them into my class. And the rule with my classes for children was you don't have to participate, but you can't interrupt my class. You don't have to participate, you can't interrupt, and you cannot leave the room without permission or another adult taking you out. Those are my 3 rules. So these children who spent a lot of time in the first 1 or 2 sessions examining their space, which most autistic children will do. They want to be safe in that space. So they're going to observe everything. They're going to walk around. They're going to look at everything until they feel secure. Many autistic children will do this. And so my rules fit well with them because I never forced them to do anything. And eventually they came to the circle and they would begin to observe the other children. And eventually, after a little coaxing, I was able to get them up and performing in the improvisational work. And what I did was short improvisational games that I had developed for children, especially children on the autism spectrum. Mac Miller commented, "What is the most challenging part of training children with autism?" Well, the parents, basically. Parents want to protect their children. They see there's something, quote, I say wrong, unquote, because really I look at all the benefits and the positive attributes of children on the spectrum. Yes, they have issues, but they also have many gifts. So dealing with the parents and getting them on board with focusing on what's the great things that this child can do right now. What are the positive things? Because parents would always come to me. I would always interview parents before I met the child and met the parents, and would interview over the phone, and they'd always tell me he's doing this or she's doing that and do that. And I say, okay, I let them go on for 10 minutes, and I'd say, okay, now you told me all the things that might be wrong with your child. Now tell me something that's right about your child. So one of the most important things is getting over the parents to understand, getting the idea for the parents to understand that there's a lot of good things that their child have that we should work on. Apple Rutherson commented, "Oh, that is interesting." Yes, it's very interesting. I didn't make that up. I discovered that over time. What advice can you give to the aspiring young actors and actresses? My advice to young actors and actresses is to decide, do you want to learn a craft, or do you want to be a movie star, or do you want to be both? Because there's a difference. Learning a craft, like anything, if you're going to be a pianist, you have to learn all the scales before you can perform a short piece. It's the same with acting. You have to learn all the fundamentals of communication. And in my work, I break down the communication process into very fundamental little children's building blocks, much like the notes of a musical scale. And the children have to learn how to utilize those building blocks first if they want to be a craft person. My advice is always learn your craft first before you decide you want to be a movie star or a famous actor. That's quite a compliment. I actually met Andrew in New York. I auditioned a couple of times for his shows. Of course, I didn't get cast, but thank you. That's quite a compliment. Joanne P. Barber comments, "Is it true that training children with autism is harder than training children without autism?" It used to be, I used to think that early on, but once you develop a series of skills or a methodology, which I've developed over 35 years, it's called communication skills process. And actually, it's really great fun. It's very interesting. There's a few challenges with children in the beginning to get them used to breaking their habits and being more flexible at times. But no, for people who have not worked with children with autism in the acting craft, it could be difficult. But if they studied my classes, and I do teach teachers how to work these processes, it becomes much easier. Apple Rutherson commented, "How to boost confidence in acting and performing on stage?" Practice. Like I said, I always start with the rules. You don't have to perform. You don't have to get up in front of the class. You can't leave the room, and you can't interrupt my class. Those are my rules. Once the child looks around the room and spends 10, 15, 20, maybe a class or two looking at everything else, there's only one thing left in the room that's interesting: the other children. So I use what I call a blank space process. I always require a room with nothing on the walls, no furniture. So it forces children to examine the room as quickly as possible and get over that. And they find the most interesting thing in the room now is the other children and the interactions they're having. As a child, I always think that theater is for the rich people. Absolutely not. Movies may be for people with money who can afford to produce films, but stage acting is for anyone. I was raised in a very poor family, and we created stories and plays and act it out all the time. So that's a misnomer that people should try to get over or get around that. And one way you can do is you get a book of plays, you give every child a part, and you let them read the play. And you teach them how to emote. You work with them on what's the emotion of that character. What is this character doing? Are they running, walking, sitting, standing, jumping? Very simple. Real Rattles commented, what are your thoughts on stigma revolving around autism? Well, early on, when I started working with children on the spectrum, there seemed to be some stigma and people's inability to understand autism, and some people's experience with children on the spectrum who might present as being difficult children or unusual children. But I think that's going away now. I think people are realizing now in this world that the stigmatization is really, it's not real. It's not a real thing, because you have to understand something. Some of your most wealthy and most productive citizens in the world are on the autism spectrum. So I think we've kind of gone through that. Unless, like everything else, it's all about education, being educated about autism. Appreciate your insight, Mr. Gorman. This is Samantha Depana. Appreciate your insight, Mr. Gorman. One last question for you. Do you think that a child with stage fright can possibly overcome it through your book? Yes. Actually, like I said, the children in my classes, many of the parents brought their children to my acting classes because the child was shy, or they were reticent. They weren't socializing with other children. Some of them were typically developing. Some of them were on the spectrum. Some of them had other special needs. But yes, through the process of improvisational work, where the child is not forced to participate, the first thing they're going to do is observe, and all their inhibitions are going to go away once they see the other children having fun, and they're going to want to get up there. Joanne P. Barber commented, what is your advice for people who want to try acting but are dealing with low self-confidence? Well, my advice is to try it. My advice is to read plays, is to go observe some classes. You don't have to partake. I know many acting teachers who will allow observers. You can audit classes just to get a feel for it. And as anything in this world, taking a risk is part of the process of getting up in front of people. It's risky business, but sometimes if you can overcome the risk, you'll find it's very enjoyable. Especially for people who want to do it but are afraid to, you should just try it. I'm a new audience here, and I'm learning something on this session. Where can we see your theater plays? Okay, so most of my plays have been recorded, but we don't present them because a recorded play is really not like a film. In fact, they're rather boring. We just recorded them for documentation. You can see my movies, but they're not, each of my two films has a child actor. One has several child actors that are absolutely brilliant. They've won awards on these films. One is called Calf Rope, and that's streaming on PureFlix. It's a 30-minute movie called Calf Rope, and it's absolutely delightful. You can see 3 or 4 child actors in there that are absolutely great. And my latest film, which is on the festival circuit now, is called Night Voices, and we've won already 55 or 60 awards in every category, and it's traveling all over the world now. So that's not for young people. It's a film for 12-year-old and above because of the themes, but there's a child actor in that who's winning awards, acting awards all over the world. So that's something to look into. Any other comments or questions or observations? Where can we enroll? Kay Pangilian, I hope I didn't, Pangilinan. Where can we enroll? Well, my classes right now I am not doing classes at the moment. I'm in the process of moving down to Pennsylvania in the next 6 months. And in Pennsylvania, I will be starting up my company called World Theater of Children, which was the company I worked with for many years. And it's been in hiatus for about 2 years now. So I do not do acting classes online for obvious reasons. There are many, many people who are successful teaching acting online. There are many actors and non-actors getting great benefits from learning acting online. It's just not the way I teach. I just don't think putting an electronic device in between people trying to communicate is going to work for me, but it is effective for other people. What's the difference between online and physical in-person acting? Well, okay. So this brings me back to my original point. We are living in a world where interpersonal and intrapersonal communication is sliding precipitously downhill, especially for young children and college-age students and above. In person, the difference between in-person acting and online is when you're in person with me, I can not only see your facial expression, your physical attributes, but I can sense what you're thinking. That I can't get that through a computer. Christine Gines commented, when it comes to enhancing communication skills, is it effective practicing in front of the mirror? Actually, yes. Yes. Actually, one of the most odd things of my childhood was my parents always used to complain that I would make faces in the mirror, but I got a kick out of it. I would make all kinds of weird faces, and I would use my face and I would stretch it, and we just do all kinds of different funny faces. And they would complain about that for years. And then when I got into my conservatory training program, what do you think one of the exercises was in our improvisational class? Making faces in front of the mirror and using what they called plastiques, which is a form of changing your facial expressions and using the muscles of your face and becoming familiar and aware of what you can do with the facial muscles. So yes, that's very interesting. I have not been on Broadway, although I've worked in Broadway theaters. I've done a couple shows in Broadway theaters, but I haven't been on I have not been in a Broadway show. I've been very busy with independent work. So again, I want to talk about the importance of knowing about interpersonal and interpersonal communication skills, which you can get in the Children spend too much time on a screen. For everyone here who's watching me, go home tonight or tomorrow morning and just calculate day by day how many hours or minutes your child spends in front of a screen. And I mean in front of a phone, Game Boy, computer, television, homework, computer in school, and whatever is at home. Add those up, multiply it by 7, and you're going to find out that they spend much more time in front of a screen than you would probably imagine. Many children are doing more than a full-time job, more than the amount of time it takes to do a full-time job in front of a screen, and that changes the brain. My daughter is an introvert. How can I encourage her to join theater? Well, one, I would take her to plays, take her to musicals, take her to the local school plays, the local children's plays. Take her to an acting class and tell her, you don't have to participate, you can just watch. I love the free education. This is Andrigo Films. I love the free education. Yes, I agree, children spend too much time on their devices. Thank you, Andrigo Films. Appreciate that. So again, we go back to how much time does a child spend in front of a screen? And you have to remember that the latest brain science, and my master's degree in science focused on brain function and autism together. So I know a lot about brain function, and I'm always keeping up on the latest research. Our brain is more like a rainforest, as the latest research tells. So when something happens in the brain or outside, externally, your brain changes immediately. For instance, for the amount of time you have been watching me and listening to me, your brain has completely transformed, as has mine. So whatever you do with your brain, you're going to be changing the brain function. So if your child is in front of a screen for 30 or 40 hours a week, their brain function is changing to that. But if you put them into an intrapersonal or interpersonal communication skills program, their brain's going to change for the better. And I have to admit, many people agree the most important thing for your child to learn in their education throughout any other, whether they're in elementary school or college and everything in between, is communication skills. They need to, that's the best thing for them to be successful in their personal and professional lives. So Kay Pangilinan, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Where can I get a copy of your book? My book is available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes & Noble online, and in numerous other places you can get it. If you Google 30 plays for child actors, Gorman, John Ruggiero, you'll find all the places you can get my book. Take the book, copy some of the plays. There's plays in this book that are 2 minutes long, 5 minutes long, 8 minutes long, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, a half hour, an hour and a half, and more. And you can copy those and sit around the dinner table or after dinner and have a game night and do a short script as an introduction to the game night, or at a holiday party, a birthday party, give every kid a part and let them read. Help the little kids who can't read their parts. It's great fun. And it's a great introduction to communication skills. Communication skills, like I said, are the most important things that you can give to your child as a gift, whether it's dance, acting, music, any form of the performing arts are communication skills, because you communicate in 3 ways: physically, emotionally, and intellectually, which includes verbal communication. So, any other comments or questions? Well, I thank you all for attending. I hope you enjoyed my video. You can go online and look at that. My playsforchildren.com will be coming out in about another 2 to 3 weeks. And you're welcome, Kay Pangilinan. Parker Brook, I would definitely recommend your books to my relatives and friends. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, Gorman. Thank you, Parker. Much appreciated. I really appreciate your time. Have a great night.